address this need that's created?
Okay, sure. So let's go back to 2012. So the VA received about 65,000 claims for PTSD in 2012. And those claims went all the way back to World War II. So PTSD is not new. It has a new name. I think before we might have called it shell shocked or something like this. But it's been around. And when you really think about what PTSD is, which is basically any prolonged exposure to a traumatic situation, so near-death situations, or if you think about Katrina and people, were, homeless and living in the dome, and all of that prolonged exposure to things that are traumatic to you. That is all PTSD, and it couples with several symptoms. So you'll have nightmares, isolation, depression, anxiety. PTSD is basically if you're not living the life you were living, you were going out and doing things and you were happy, and now you're no longer doing those things, you probably are suffering from PTSD. So I think what has happened now, and why we know more about it now, of course there are studies, first of all, and I think that we're in a time where there's been sort of this paradigm shift, like people now look at a soldier as a human being and not a bullet stopper. Like we look at soldiering as, this is your career and you're doing something heroic for us, and we want you to be safe, and we want the best for you. Or say Vietnam, it wasn't the case, and it was more like, well, this is your choice, or this is something you're expendable, and soldiers aren't expendable anymore. But that also means the reason why soldiers aren't expendable is because they're smarter, and they're smarter, which means they have jobs today that are more technical savvy, and they've probably come from homes that are a little more cushioned and a little more nurturing than we had before, because parenting has changed. Everything is evolving. So now what you're getting in basic training, mostly, this might be an overgeneralization, but mostly you're getting these new kids in there that are sort of the, I want it now, I want it now, and we kind of call them the blue ribbon generation, because they sort of feel like no matter what I do, I should still get a ribbon for it. It's okay if I come in last place, I'm still going to get something, right? And so when you go into war with that mentality, it's not conducive to traumatic experiences. So let's take a kid, let's say from Houston, Texas, who, his mom and dad have been telling him he's the smartest thing, and he's the best kid in the world, and he's so awesome, and for whatever reason he joins the military. It used to be, once he got into boot camp, the drill sergeant would strip all that away. Just strip it. Break you down, you're feeling like you're nothing, and then they build you back up again into a soldier. No longer that way. Now you go to basic training. You don't feel like running? It's okay. Don't run. You can jog. You can walk. You don't want to carry that? That's okay. Don't carry it. You're going to be okay. We love you. Nobody loved me in basic training. It is kinder, it is gentler. And they do that because soldiers aren't as expendable. They're putting a lot of money into these kids. A lot of money. These guys, they spend $1 million going through all of their education. We got to make sure that these kids stick around and stay in. So we can't have them cracking up and leaving us in basic training. And we've wasted all of this money and time and effort and energy. So what happens? Here's a kid that thought he was just going to get in and he was going to get some college money. Or maybe he really felt, post 9/11, I want to do something for my country, and this is meaningful to me. And he goes in with that attitude, which is very noble, and he goes in. But he hasn't gotten that broken down stuff. Now he gets into war, where it's real. It's not the video game he's used to. It is not the graphics that he's used to. It's real people, real gunfire that rings in your head. and rattles around for a while. It is your real buddies are not making it. Your real friends are not coming home. And it is when you're folding that flag, when it sets in, and you're just like, wait a minute, so they're not coming back? You know, we don't get another player, we don't get to re-up? Like, no, the person's not coming back. Not only that, they go for that one tour, and this is their job now. And they go back again for another tour. This war has been going on 11 years, 12 years. So there are kids out there that have done this maybe 6 times. And 6 times. So when I talk about what is PTSD, prolonged exposure, you're already prolonged exposure if you go 1 time. If you go 6 times, you have prolonged exposure, and you're probably not taking the time to address those issues in between. And it's building, and it's building, and it's building. And one thing about being a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, it's all the same. You're pretty much taught that you're a team, and you're an important part of that team. So if you remove me, the team suffers. You don't want your team to suffer, so you keep going in it, and you keep going back, and even though you're hurting, you don't say anything. So you're not getting the treatment. And sometimes they may force you to get a little slide presentation that says what PTSD is, and you should call this number if you're ever feeling suicidal. That's great, but it's really checking the block. It's not really digging in to that person. So you take a kid who has never experienced anything like this in his or her life. They get out there multiple times. Now they're on their way home. Their family members don't understand what's going on. And even if they do understand, the person feels like they don't understand. I felt that way when I came back. I was like, look at all these people driving around like they're just free to drive around. I was so angry. I was like, look at them. They're not running over camels. They don't have to pee in the bag in the back of the truck. Look at all these people that just don't even get it, you know, have no clue how good they have it. And that makes you angry, and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds until you get to a point where you're like, that's it. I can't take this anymore. I'm better off dead. I don't want to be here. I'm done. And they check out. And that's it. And it really takes someone in their corner that can understand that when they're screaming in the middle of the night that they're living it. It's when you're having that nightmare, you're literally there. Your mind is there. Your body may be here, but your mind, your touch, your taste, your sight, your hearing, all of it is still there. And unless somebody is like rubbing your back saying it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, I'm here for you, I'm here for you, I'll make a place for you, and you can hide in this place, and you can stay there until you're ready to come out. Unless somebody is doing that for you, you're in another world, and it's very hard to accept this world when you've been in that world for so long. It's very difficult. So the numbers keep rising. They don't have the support. They're not getting the help. They're not knowing what to do. And sadly, every hour, someone commits suicide from PTSD.
And when you say that, you mean in the general population, or you mean in former military?
In the general population.
General population.
Because when you're talking about PTSD, a lot of people think it looks like the guy with the tan-colored, helmet on, and he's got his weapon, he's all got the backpacks and all kinds of gear, and he's all geared up, right? They think, oh, that's a guy, and he could have PTSD. And they never think that it could be the quiet girl that, is in your classroom, and she's been molested for 5 years or longer, and she can't talk about it. She doesn't know who she's going to go to. They never think that face is also the face of PTSD. And so a lot of people get forgotten. And again, they fall in that crack and end up committing suicide. So what Trauma to Triumph does is try to fill those gaps So we look at the whole picture. We look at the whole demographic of people. And for Trauma to Triumph, we're focused on women. And the only reason we do that is because there are a lot of organizations that want to help, but they still, if you look at Wounded Warriors or something like this, they still have that image of men. And I wanted to create something that really talked and spoke to women in the way that they needed to be spoken to, and people understood. So women talking to women, veterans helping veterans, and then we have Trauma to Triumph. And we really target veteran women who are just transitioning out. We feel like if we can capture them in that first 90 days before they run out of all of their money, before their leave days are used up and their benefits have run out, and right before they get on the brink of, oh crap, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing and I don't have a job yet, that's when we step in and we're like, it's going to be okay. Because we're going to take care of you. Because we're basically going to extend the life you had in the military. We're going to extend those benefits for you. And we're going to make sure that you have housing, and we're going to make sure you get counseling that you need, and we're going to make sure that you have job training and job placement, and we're going to take care of you up to a year. And then we transition you to another organization that makes sure you have those things. But we're never just going to drop you or leave you or abandon you. And the VA does their part. They really do. They really do. But they are overburdened. Out of the females, there were over 6,000 VA claims filed in 2012 for females with PTSD.
And that's Houston, or that's
right here?
Right here.
Out of that 6,000, 1% were actually compensated. 1%. So that tells me that yes, you can go to the VA and get counseling, but if you're not getting compensated, that means you're not getting that monthly check that's helping you to get to the next point. And then on top of that, you're going through all of your anxiety and depression and all of those things, and you're a woman, so 9 times out of 10, you're taking care of your kids. And you're trying to figure out what they're going to eat, and sometimes these women feed their kids before they feed themselves. So kids are going to school and getting a meal. Mom is trying to figure out what to do next. So Trauma to Triumph says, we're going to take you out of all of that. We're going to take all of that trauma that you experienced, and we're going to turn that into your new treasure. We're going to make that something that you can prosper from. And we're going to turn that into your trauma. Redesign your life.
That's great. That's great. And as I said earlier, you can speak from personal experience on a number of different levels.
Yes.
From the rape experience and from the combat experience and the being left at the altar experience. I mean, all of it, every bit of it, all of those things are traumatic. Any one of those things would be traumatic for a person. And here, look at what a success you are making out of all of that.
I'm glad that you say that, because when people define success, it can be defined in many, many different ways. I feel successful because I'm still here. I feel like I have made it through all those things, and I'm still here, which means I still have a mission, which means I'm still useful, I'm still purposeful, and I can still help someone. And to me, that is my definition of success. And a lot of times people look at me and they're like, no way, no way. But it has been a process, and I feel like anyone can do it. It takes the right support, a little time, a lot of prayer. But yeah, I think anybody can do it.
So is there anything we haven't talked about or that I haven't asked about that you'd like to include?
I think that sums it up.
Okay. Are you still a girly girl?
Oh my God, am I? I will have to send you a picture of my closet, which was formerly known as my oldest son's bedroom, now known as my girly room, or my girl cave. Yes, I am I love it. I love fashion. I curate fashion.